The Stargate, a monument to a lost civilization, a marvel of ingenuity that enables explorers to traverse the vastness of space almost instantaneously. As the Stargate mythos expanded, and as those of Earth Stargate Command gradually learned more about the race of beings that built these ancient devices, the lore surrounding them continued to deepen. Upon arriving to the Milky Way galaxy, a highly advanced race of beings, primarily referred to as the Gate Builders or the Ancients, would go on to seed a vast network of stargates on various planets. However, they were not the only ones to dabble in this kind of technology. Though the Ancients sought to use their gate networks to explore, to further their knowledge and understanding of the universe around them, others would exploit the power of the stargates, using them to conquer and subjugate. In this video, I'd like to talk about the Supergate and how this device was used as part of a most unholy crusade, threatening the freedom of all intelligent beings inhabiting the Milky Way. The race of beings that oversaw the development of the Supergates were part of a separate faction from the Ancients that built the stargates found in the Milky Way and Pegasus galaxies. Millions of years ago, in a far distant galaxy, this highly advanced ancient society, known as the Alterans, were driven by a fervent desire to gain knowledge and understanding of the universe through exploration, research, and experimentation. In contrast to this, a group known as the Ori sought answers through spiritual enlightenment. Though the Ori began with good intentions, over time they became corrupt. Facing destruction in a war of attrition, the Alterans fled to the Milky Way galaxy where they could prosper, while the Ori stayed behind. Though their ideologies were diametrically opposed, they followed the same evolutionary path to ascension, both becoming powerful beings of pure energy. However, unlike the ascended Alterans, who had long decided to never interfere with the development of corporeal species, the ascended Ori discovered they could gain even more power from mortal beings that worshiped them. And so the Ori saw to the development of Supergate technology in order to invade and gain a foothold in other galaxies in a crusade to gain as many followers as possible. In regards to traditional gate travel, a normal stargate is basically a giant superconductor capable of absorbing and harnessing the energy required to maintain a stable wormhole. Under normal circumstances, a gate is accompanied by a dialing device, which acts as both computer and power source. The gate and dialing instrument are arrayed with various symbols that represent constellations. To travel to another destination across the galaxy, one would dial its gate address by entering the symbols representing the specific gate's location within a three-dimensional point in space. Upon a successful dialing sequence, an artificial wormhole is established between the dialing gate and the destination gate. The gate of origin then performs the function of dematerializing anyone and anything that passes through its event horizon. The energized matter stream is then transmitted through the wormhole where the destination gate reassembles the dematerialized components back to their original form. A supergate more closely resembles what is referred to as a space gate, which is simply a stargate that operates suspended in space, such as those seen in the Pegasus galaxy. These specialized space gates were generally placed in planetary orbit, and were equipped with power nodes that kept the device stabilized in its intended position in case of any sudden impacts. A key difference in the operation of a space gate, however, is that it has no local dialing device. Since it was customized for space travel, smaller ships were created specifically for threading the needle and were fitted with the necessary dialing equipment for successful gate travel. Similar to its much smaller counterpart, a supergate is designed to allow passage for spacecrafts. However, it is further customized to accommodate and be dialed by a much larger vessel, namely Ori warships, which are piloted by their priors. While the purpose of Stargate technology was originally driven by a desire to gain more knowledge through research and exploration, the Supergate was developed to be nothing more than an instrument of war. The reason behind the creation of these enormous space gates was to facilitate an invasion of massive Ori warships. While the Supergate operates on the same principles as the Stargate and was designed for space travel like the Spacegate, there are some key differences. The most notable being its enormous size, power requirements, and method of construction. A Supergate consists of many large individual blocks or segments that are capable of autonomous flight. Each ship-like component emits a powerful energy field which enables the blocks to link together and automatically assemble into the immense ring structure. Each of these segments are small enough to travel through a regular-sized Stargate. So from the Ori galaxy, a connection would first be established with a conventional Stargate in the Milky Way, which would then enable the construction of the Supergate at that location. Though gate travel is typically conducted within a single galaxy's network of stargates, intergalactic transportation is possible if the necessary power requirements are met. In addition to the vast amount of energy necessary to dial to another galaxy, there is a specific correlation between the energy required to create a stable wormhole and the diameter of the device itself. Therefore, the energy needed to enable the creation of a wormhole the size of a supergate would far exceed that of a conventional stargate and would require the power of a black hole. The construction of the first supergate in the Milky Way galaxy was achieved by an emissary of the Ori called a prior, creating a force field on a planet that would eventually expand and surround the entire world, constricting it to form a micro-singularity. Meanwhile, the Stargate on the doomed planet was used to send the components needed to form the giant ring structure estimated to measure 400 meters across. Once the force field collapsed the planet into a black hole, it would then serve as the Supergate's power source. In normal gate operations, a wormhole can remain open for 38 minutes as long as matter continues to pass through it. However, this can be extended if there is enough power to continually feed the connection. In regards to the massive energy needed for this intergalactic supergate, with a black hole powering both the gate of origin and the destination gate, the wormhole could theoretically be sustained almost indefinitely, leaving the passage open between the Ori home galaxy and the Milky Way. Despite this, the Ori do not deem it necessary to sustain a connection for longer than is needed to transport their motherships. The Supergate and the Ori armada that travels through it present one of the greatest threats to the peoples of the Milky Way, as all those who refuse to bow to the Ori are destroyed. The Ori's first attempt at gaining a foothold in this galaxy was unsuccessful. Before the assembly of the Supergate had completed, a Goa'uld vessel was piloted into the ring structure in place of one of its final links. This disrupted the energy field holding the segments in place and initiated a power surge that resulted in the Supergate's destruction. The second Supergate was constructed in secret, and as such it's unclear whether it could have been destroyed in the same manner. Regardless, by the time the Supergate's unusual energy readings were detected, the planet it was orbiting had already been destroyed in the formation of the singularity. Upon its completion, this superstructure proved to be larger than its predecessor. Given that the links of the second Supergate appear too large to fit through a normal Stargate, it's been theorized that these pieces could have been transported through another unseen Supergate, similar in size to the first. Since Supergate technology is based on the same basic principles as traditional gate travel, they are also subject to the same limitations and weaknesses. Initially, the Tauri and their allies were unable to dial out from the Milky Way Supergate, and it was suspected that the device was specifically designed to be dialed in from another galaxy. Therefore, the teams of Stargate Command from Earth and Atlantis joined forces, executing a plan to dial in to the Supergate from the Pegasus galaxy. In order to accomplish this, a regular Stargate would be deployed next to the Milky Way Supergate, and another Stargate would be placed near a black hole in the Pegasus galaxy. The Pegasus Gate would then be used to dial the Stargate placed near the Milky Way Supergate. After this, they would detonate a nuclear warhead, causing the matter stream to jump from the Stargate to the Supergate. With the nearby black hole powering the connection on the Pegasus side, the wormhole could be sustained indefinitely, which for the time being effectively rendered the gate unusable, eliminating the possibility of additional Ori incursions. While this did not turn out to be a permanent solution, the heroes of Stargate Command would continue to exploit the functionality of the Supergate in their efforts to strike back and eliminate the threat of the Ori's unholy crusade. The Supergate itself is both fascinating and frightening in equal measure. Given the ever-expanding scope and reach of the Stargate mythos, it will be interesting to see whether this technology reappears in any future Stargate projects. But I'm curious to know what you think about the Supergate. Do you think this massive device was a positive addition to the Stargate mythos? Would you like to see Supergates reappear in future Stargate productions? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did, and be sure to subscribe for more Stargate and other sci-fi and fantasy news and lore. Thank you all so much for your support, and as always, have a very nerdy day.